Breaking. Somebody sells 24,000 Bitcoin overnight. Wow, really? On a Sunday night in August, while everyone is sleeping, someone decides to sell 24,000 Bitcoin and wreck the market. Surprised? I'm not. I'll tell you why. You stick around. I will tell you why I'm not surprised. Now, undoubtedly, you're upset, depressed. You thought it was all over with Powell. You know what? It was never all over with Powell, because what Powell says or does doesn't matter. It doesn't. Now, I know we had the whole circus last week, and this is the biggest Jackson Hole conference of all time. Oh, please. Please. What happens with interest rates and legacy is a function of what Uncle Sugar spends. Now, the market has taught us that little lesson. Everybody thought it was okay. And then the big boys that have to buy a lot of crypto decided, boom, somebody sells in the middle of the night. The market's down. Everyone wakes up depressed and upset. Everyone thought they were safe. They're not. And you know what? I love it. The market at 11,000, especially since it's on GAN support in Bitcoin. To me, it actually looks better now, or more juicy now, than it did the last time it was at 11,000. How nice of them to cheapen it up. That's my attitude. Now, if that's wrong, well, that's a different conversation, right? That's like 105, which, of course, everyone will be happening today. Cointelegraph, bull market's over. Bitcoin going to 105K, whatever. I wasn't doing that last week, and I'm not doing it today. Now, here's why. And we're going to go backwards. We're going to go, what's bullish, what's bearish, and then we're going to make a decision. So conveniently, the biggest hedge fund, two of the biggest hedge funds, crypto hedge funds on the planet, Galaxy Digital, Mike Novogratz from Goldman Sachs started the first crypto hedge fund when it was like 2013, like way back when it was a joke. Okay, he's getting together with Multicoin Capital, another super smart group of guys out of Austin, Texas, to raise $1 billion for a Solana treasury company. The hedge funds want to buy Solana, which is convenient because Multicoin Capital already holds a truckload of Solana. Okay, the head of the fund, Kyle Tsunami, I believe is his name. He had a red Ferrari for years, back when Solana was like worth 30 cents. The license plate was Solana. I actually saw the car myself with my own eyes. So needless to say, they're big Solana fans. They were behind Helium. They're huge in the Solana ecosystem. They are very smart, as in Multicoin. And obviously Galaxy is too. So isn't it interesting that somebody unloads massive amounts of Bitcoin on a Sunday night in the summer while they announce that they want to be a Solana treasury company of epic proportions? Fascinating, as Mr. Spock would say. Now, let's go to the Bitcoin sale. So are whales taking profits? Sure. There's an eclipse. There's a lunar eclipse, a solar eclipse in the same month. I'm not the only person who knows this. September and October can be extremely volatile months in capital markets. I'm not the only one who knows this. All right. The stock market is wildly overvalued. I'm not the only one who knows this. Okay. So did somebody decide to sell? Maybe. Now, who sells in the middle of the American night? Well, that would be the Asia morning. Now, if there is someone who had to unload Bitcoin, assuming it's not an individual, and frankly, assuming we can't figure out who it was, I don't know that we have yet, supposedly a whale. It could have been a central bank. It could be a Japanese entity that's having serious problems. Somebody sold Bitcoin in the middle of the night, and it wasn't an individual. No individual would do that. They would do that through a big dealer like Galaxy. Whoever did that was in a state of distress, okay, which could be a Japanese financial institutions, or it was just someone who wanted to wreck the market, right? It's like, okay, well, we'll take profits here or whatever, and we'll just wreck the market because we want to get it all back lower. That's it. Otherwise, it would have been done on the stock market open, or it would have been done after Labor Day. I mean, what are they afraid of? It's going to go to 105K. It went to 77 on the fake tariff tantrum. Where exactly do they think this thing is going? Really? Right? Let's sell sound money in the middle of the night. Now, of course, they sell sound money in the middle of the night. Alts dump. ETH goes down 3%. XRP goes back below the juicy zone at $3. I have no idea why XRP is below $3, especially with the way ETH is moving. And all of a sudden, everything that happened last week, like ETH DeFi, Bitcoin, it all gets unwound. And everyone's like, Bitcoin looks terrible. ETH looks less terrible. I mean, literally $300 million, people who FOMO'd in on Friday. And I don't blame anybody for being bullish on Friday, but like I said, Powell doesn't matter. And I didn't realize the extent to which Powell doesn't matter. You know what matters is the market. The market is what matters. So if they sell 24,000 Bitcoin and they can't crack it, then I think this is set up for an even bigger move higher than anyone thinks. That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is there's something out there. There's a problem. Somebody panic dumped it, and, there are larger issues. I don't really see it that way. I don't see it that way unless there's a stock market problem. And even if there is a stock market problem, I don't understand why you would sell Bitcoin at all. All the things that were true last week, all the things that I was saying, and they are trying to push people out. So they got to buy a lot more than 24,000 Bitcoin, people. They sold 24,000 Bitcoin and the market took it, went down like what, 2%? They don't need to buy 24,000 Bitcoin. They need to buy 124,000 Bitcoin, because Saylor and all of these corporate characters, as well as sovereigns, are going to need it. And if it wasn't a Japanese entity that sold it, there are Japanese entities that are going to need to buy it, especially the Bank of Japan. So I have no idea why everyone is all wound up about it, other than the fact that it's down when you expected it to be up. Now, when you look at some of the altcoins on DeMark, special kind of chart program I have, frankly, this was a day that you would have expected a dip. Yeah, the signal is clear. Like, today was dip day. Now, is it a bigger dip day than it normally is? Yeah. But, if I had told you on Friday that you would get a dip, you'd be like, oh, thank God, it was going to leave without me. Okay, here it is. Here it is on somebody suspiciously selling a truckload of Bitcoin in the middle of the night in August. It's amazing the market isn't down more. Right? There's no liquidity anywhere in August. There's somebody unloaded on it. It's fine. It's at 111. ETH's at 4,800. It's amazing. ETH was at 1,500. Now it's like, oh my God, ETH went down 3%. The market's going to zero. No. Now, in my opinion, unless there's a problem with like stocks or oil at the end of the month, right? Unless somebody who sold that Bitcoin knows something that I don't, the theory of sound money and the theory that you've got all these things in legacy that are wildly overvalued and don't make any sense. That's probably the best way to say it. Anything that's going on in legacy now, stocks, bonds, currencies, makes absolutely no sense. And most commodities are in a danger zone because the economy, in many ways, is rolling over globally. Lumber, copper, etc. Right? And if it's not rolling over, it's, tariffs and geopolitical weirdness. What else is there to do in the world except crypto? Now, for our members, don't forget, we had the YouTube member podcast. We had one on Saturday. We developed a full altcoin shopping list. There will be more videos coming out about that altcoin shopping list. Ran that through, our GAN model. So that's going to be coming through in Patreon and in the YouTube member area. YouTube member area tonight, we will be doing an additional podcast where Toby just announced that, we are doing crypto happy hour on the fly, because the market is down. And when the market is down, what do? You shop. They want to knock everything down 5%. Excellent. What about cross-chain, right? Name 3 cross-chain plays. Name 5 ETH layer 2s. 3 ETH layer 2s. Matic, Optimism, Arbitrum. Do you know any others? Name 1 Bitcoin layer 2 outside STX. Want to find out more? Come join us. Right? It's like we went from a crypto future, and now everyone's like, oh, my bag's dumped again. I know this is hard, easier said than done, especially when they kind of put you didn't exactly get a lump of sugar in your coffee. You got a lump of something else. You got to focus on what this thing is going to do once everyone realizes that A, it's the only investable asset class out there, and B, they just can't break it. They just can't break it. Now, if you don't believe any of that, let's try this. You want to know when you should buy a market? The best time to buy a market is when it looks terrible. Because the market does look terrible, right? If you look at it, you're like, oh my God, it's a failed rally. I'm the guy that's like, ooh, beware the failed rally. Okay. Yeah, that's beware the failed rally on the way down. It's like down, 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 rally, down, 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 down. Let's see if they get follow through on this, or if this isn't like kind of a retest puke. That's what it feels like to me, right? It's like, okay, now we got everybody in. Let's all wash them out. If they get follow through or a catalyst, well, fine. But my attitude is it looks bad enough to want to buy it. Because everyone wanted to buy it on Friday when it looked wonderful. And now that it's terrible, no one wants to touch it. Funny how that works, right? So Michael Saylor could be right. Bitcoin at 110 something or 111 something could be kind of cheap. And unless you're going to have a capital markets blowout. Now let's start doing this September preview now. So there's a lunar eclipse on September 7th. Eclipses can magnify trends. They can create blow-offs. They can also create tremendous volatility, as the eclipses can represent like a transition period. So if Bitcoin and crypto is about to transition into something much bigger on the upside, you would expect that to develop either on September 7th or on September 22nd, which is why in our Patreon area, we set up buys and sells both for both August, September, and October. And we have, more in depth. We almost did it by the day, and more of that is coming probably in the YouTube member podcast later on today. But volatility is the new norm. It is. Why? Because crypto is transitioning into something like larger than life. Okay. And breaking news from the Eagle King. Here it is. Okay. Strategy acquired 3,000 Bitcoin at 115K. So remember this theory from last week that Mike will buy and then they'll drop the market to get the Bitcoin back, and they're still doing it. Now, luckily, somebody sold 24,000 in the market. So I don't know if Mike wants to pick up more. They left it there for him. But this is always the way it works, right? Oh, we bought 3,000 Bitcoin. They were only too happy to sell it to us last week at 115, and then they dropped the market. So I don't know exactly. He says he bought it on the 24th. So they sold it to him at 116, and then they dropped it. This is what happens every single time that he buys, right? More news from the Eagle King. Glassnode is reporting that altcoin futures open interest exploded by $9 billion on Friday. Such rapid inflows highlight how altcoins increasingly drive leveraged volatility and fragility across digital assets. So, interesting Friday, right? They were leaning on altcoin futures to try to push the market down. That didn't work. That triggered a short squeeze, which triggered everyone FOMOing into altcoins, which is understandable. I mean, it's not unreasonable to have been giga bullish on Friday. I was loving it. I was like, oh, this is fantastic. But then they turn around and I don't know, they have to stop everyone out. Again, the brutality is just, oh my God. I mean, Ivan on Tech was like, I'm shocked. He's right. But my headline is, I'm not shocked. I'm like, oh, okay. Michael Saylor bought Bitcoin and somebody wanted to drop it. Somebody is that desperate to get it back. Right. And there's a huge altcoin whipsaw. Levered people are getting stopped out. And I just will remind you of one simple thing. This is exactly what happens at a bottom, right? This is exactly what happens, in a bull market where everyone knows it's going up. Like nobody's like, yeah, Bitcoin's going to trade it. Bitcoin's going to close the year at 70K. No one's saying that because I don't think that's correct, right? You have a dollar problem, you have a deficit problem, and crypto's the only investable asset. So everybody has a big upside target at the end of the year. Everyone's bullish. Everyone wants to be long. So what do? They just continually stop out levered players, right? It's a stop fishing exercise. 300 million in. Binance, they get liquidated. Binance pulls all the chips off the table. And as I said, the last time it was at 111K. I mean, unless there's something going on here that I don't know about, 4 months from now, you're going to be like, wow, we could have got it at 111K. And they were printing 110 on Monday. Everyone waking up at the beach going, oh, God, what is this? Right? Somebody needs so much crypto that they were willing to do like an optics show in the middle of the night. I mean, yeah, seriously, later on, tag me on Twitter if you find out that it was some American or Western or, English, London-based, some financial district-based entity that sold in the middle of the night. I'm not buying it. I'm absolutely not buying it, particularly when they're announcing a Solana treasury. So does the market look terrible? Absolutely. Oh, right. I mean, Bitcoin printed 110, right? Monero's down. Oh my God, Aero made a new high. We actually had to call. We did the YouTube member podcast Saturday. We said you can selectively start buying back Aero rather than FOMOing in. Oh my God, thank God. Right. Thank God. Right. But you got stuff down this morning. You got stuff getting monkey hammered. You got some of the stuff on our buy list from Friday that are getting totally spanked. I mean, they're giving you the opportunity. Like I'm looking at Sui. They're giving you the opportunity to basically almost buy that where that was pre-Powell. Everyone's like, oh my God, the Powell rally was on. Wow, people. There is no such thing as a Powell rally. There isn't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. And I don't think people they haven't gotten off of that yet. Because now they're like, oh God, it was a Powell thing. No, it's not. No, it's not, because it went right back down again. And now we don't have to hear from Powell for, at least another month, if not more. It's got to do with the mechanics of the actual crypto market, and it has to do with what do you want to do going forward. Speaking of what do you want to do going forward, did you know Grayscale wants an Avalanche ETF? Things that make you go, right? The layer one trade, the layer one season. How many layer ones out there? Well, I don't know. There's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Sui, and Avalanche. What other ones are there? Are AI agents going to use any of them? How many are fast? How many can become a blockchain of blockchains? Well, we'd be happy to tell you all about it because I got it right here, right? We got Patreon. I got stacks of paper, stacks of reports coming out tonight over the next 2 days. What layer ones are out there? Do you know? Well, I want you to, because when the market is going down, that's when you start grabbing all this stuff. Friday was like, it's the age of ETH, DeFi. The DeFi data managers, the oracles were all rallying. Where is everybody today? Everyone's running away because they spooked you in the middle of the night. And sometimes when you're afraid, you have to ask yourself, does someone want me to be afraid? Toby says this, right? If you're afraid, it's because somebody wants you to be afraid. That's somewhat interesting, don't you think? Particularly after they just, like I said, dropped this thing absolutely on its head. Every altcoin's down 5%. Everyone's going to get liquidated in the altcoin futures. Everybody wants 2021 back. You know when you get 2021 back? When after they stop everybody out 3 or 4 times and people who are bullish don't want to play anymore, which is very unfortunate, which is why I'm trying to prevent that. Even though it looks like I'm being stubborn. I mean, if they smoke it to 105, I don't care. I don't care. I don't want people giving up because they chopped Bitcoin around in like a $6,000 range. No one's going to care about that if this thing acts the way people think it does. And I think the other part of the problem here is everyone's like, oh yeah, Bitcoin's going to 250. Okay. Well, how does Bitcoin get to 250? Like, what does the world look like with Bitcoin at 250? Well, we'd be happy to tell you, but it doesn't look like it does right now, and it's not that pretty. Everyone thinks it's like a gigantic party, and you're wearing Bitcoin orange Crocs, and it's umbrella drinks, and it may be if you really hit it with your P&L. But what does the rest of the world look like? You got to start asking yourselves these particular questions, which all anybody is focused on, like seriously, all the tweets are like, well, if some guy at $10 decides to sell Bitcoin, that means there has to be $110,000 of new capital to come in to take that Bitcoin. Okay, well, that's true. So, I mean, the amount of money invested in global pension funds is like $60 trillion. Okay. I think there's a lot of people who are going to need a different form of money. So again, everyone's going to look at the on-chain data. Glassnode 1 minute's telling you, at 125K, all the short-term holders are in profit. And now they're telling you that, you have broad-based distribution with, everyone selling. Okay. Well, okay, let's say everyone's selling. All the whales are selling. Great. Is it going down? Or are they just, creating volume in a confined space? They sold ETH all year long. They sold ETH for 2 years. 2 years. And we're losing it on a 10% correction. I understand. Yeah, they caught you. They caught you, right? They got caught leaning. They were short. They got squeezed. Then you got long. Then they wrecked you on thin summer liquidity, trying to get everyone to give up on the market, right? This is the hallmark of, say, old-fashioned futures trading, where it was like institutions versus the guys in the pit. You're one of the guys in the pit, right? You're an individual or a small institution battling against the big boys. So, you saw they were short, you got long. They saw you got long, and then they got short. And then they had some big sell order behind it. That could have been Galaxy. I mean, doesn't it make sense? This classic hedge fund tactic, now that I'm talking it out. These big hedge funds that are sitting on a ton of crypto, if they wanted to wreck the markets, to start buying Solana for a Solana treasury, they unload Bitcoin when everyone's sleeping. And then you puke out your Solana, and they're standing down there to take it from you. I mean, it's been announced. We want to buy. What? You want to buy it when it's 300, or you want to buy it when it's lower? When do the hedge funds want to buy it? Do they want to buy when everyone else is buying, or do they want to buy when everyone else is selling? So, I mean, again, that sounds kind of classic to me. And, if none of this resonates with you, let's try this. They're putting the United States Army on the street. They're on the street in Washington, D.C. They're going on the street in Chicago. They're probably going everywhere. Everywhere where you have, high crime rate, conveniently, you're going to have, the Army on the street. Okay. Now, I'm super pro U.S. Army, right? God bless our boys, right? But I don't know that the Army on the streets is not a little creepy, especially since you have a lot of people going, we voted for this. No, you voted for better policing, better federal law enforcement, not what we got going on now. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I don't know that I'm that upset about the National Guard, but who follows the National Guard? Who's mixed in there? Maybe you got a little video camera recognition going on, maybe? Huh? You know, this stuff stinks. There are geopolitical catalysts coming up at the end of the month, which, you know, there was a big event, you know, in the Middle East overnight. There was. Somebody's capital got attacked. So if someone freaked out, okay, that's what you freak out about. But I got to be honest with you. I'm just going to be straight. Some of the stuff that's happening, I don't like it. I mean, I'm in Texas, right? So don't mistake me for a guy that doesn't like law and order. Trust me. Okay. But you got to start asking yourself, is Uncle Sugar on your side? And whose job is it to take care of you? Now, normally this is like, okay, Bill, yeah, I know you said this before. Really? Okay. Well, you know, there's camo guys out on the street. Now, of course, that makes the streets quieter for now, right? No one's going to mess with anybody on day one. Is that going to spread out? Are they going to stand up cameras or whatever? Listen, man, cryptocurrency is the only sound money on the planet. And if I told you, I don't forget about me telling you, if you went to a cocktail party at Wall Street 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, and said the president would be wearing his campaign merch on the regular after the election while he was in office. The president has multiple crypto and related startups. So he's kind of running his own little enterprise from the White House. The White House and the Fed are at odds with each other publicly. We don't know where inflation is, and we know 60% of college kids cannot find any job. This is Gen Z. And you just looked at the Wall Street person and say, what would you think of that country's? Oh, yeah, and by the way, they're spending $2 trillion more than they take in. Did I forget that? What would you think of that country's bond market, currency market, and maybe their equity market? I would think the answer would be cryptocurrency. And in this particular case, which they would never have known about 10 years ago, okay, you have AI and crypto as a dual disruptor, right? So you have crypto as a disruptive force and the only investable asset in a completely wacko world. Or you know what? Or is it that wacko? Here's a funny story. When I was in high school in 1984, I believe, I had to read a book called 1984 in English class. We had to read 1984. We had to read Brave New World. You know, we had to write like book reports about it. Lord of the Flies was the other one. And I read 1984. I had just lived through the gas lines and the Iranian hostages and all this stuff. But Ronald Reagan was in office. And I'm looking at 1984 going, oh, my God. Thank God this guy was wrong about what could happen in 1984. Okay, well, he was off by just, 40 or 50 years because, they have 1984 in a country in Europe now. They could have told you that 10 years ago. I don't know if they would have believed you that you would have had 1984 now. So all I'm trying to say is Galaxy and Multicoin want to buy Solana. Grayscale wants to file for an Avalanche ETF, which has security tokens. And there's like literally 5 or 6 macro reasons to absolutely indiscriminately hoover up crypto. And I'm being led to believe that, just because there may be something wrong with equities, that there needs to be something wrong with crypto. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And if this thing doesn't fall apart today, Michael Saylor's got his crypto. They're going to push and push and push and push. And if they can't break it, the next catalyst, whether it's now or whether it's the lunar eclipse on the 7th, people, I can tell you right now, up, down, side, I don't care. We are getting altcoin ready, right? And, breaking news here, it was so stupid. The market's traded terrible for 6 months. Everyone every day is like, oh, BlackRock is buying. Now BlackRock is selling. Yeah. Why? Because people are giving up on the ETF. The equities people, the long-term holders, yeah, they're throwing in the towel on the ETF. They think it's over. I don't think it's over at all. Of course it's not over, right? But, they believe they'll buy every dip in NVIDIA, and every time Bitcoin goes down, they sell. What's wrong with this picture? What's wrong with this picture? Well, if NVIDIA goes down, it could take the whole system with it. But everything that goes on with all these big tech stocks, even though it is impressive how much they're investing in AI, you have to start asking yourself, how much of that is a bubble and how much of that is fake? Now, you don't have to go into it all this morning, but Bitcoin is sound money. That's it. It's a meme for hard money, right? And the case for ETH no longer even needs to be made. Me and Toby in the YouTube member area, particularly Toby, have been making that point for over a year. The point does not need to be made. The point has been made. The key is, when will someone trade it? They'll trade it when everyone who's bullish, like on Friday, when they sell and then turn around and get short, because that's what happens, right? First they shake you out, then you get discouraged, then you get bearish, then you get short, and then it goes. And I don't know how much volatility they're going to have to put in play to shake people out, but we had levels near here for both XRP and Bitcoin for our Patreon group, and I stand by those levels as of now. And we had stuff that we wanted to buy, we had stuff that we wanted to sell, and I still think that's good because, like I said, if you had stuff to sell, right? Toby always says this: if you have stuff to sell, do it when it was up. Friday, if you had stuff to sell, that's when you do it. Now, nobody knew that they were going to turn around and spank the market, but that's why we have, for Patreon and YouTube members, buy lists and sell lists by the month, by the week. You get the idea. Okay. Member podcast tonight, which includes what we call book reports and homework, along with the Solana Psychic. Patreon getting new reports and podcasts in the next 48 hours. I'm Bill Noble. This is the Market Update. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And I am going to welcome who is here because I almost didn't do that. Okay, Bull Runner, what's up? Felix, Yav, members, welcome. Richard Barry, a member, hello. Wolf Riot Star, Tyler Hall, Charlie the Positive Cat from the Antivirus Universe. Get those facial recognition shirts today. Crypto Tilly, Bobby Rock, what's going on? We the Beast, John Doyle, the Great Santini, Carthage Delenda, new names, welcome. Hodge Faizan, Kali says large holders control the market. No. The market is a function of what everyone thinks. Algorithms can shake out smaller people, okay? But remember, crypto is the free market, even if they can jerk you around, because you know what? If you go back to the old-fashioned history of markets, they can, this is as old as the hill, people. Goes back to pork bellies and cattle and corn and futures contracts in the 70s, when your car got like 7 miles to the gallon, trust me, this is older than that. J&O likes the morning show. Matt Green, up or down from here? Bro, I'll take it from them at a 111. If they stop me out, they stop me out. I had a trader I used to work for back in the 90s. You say, if I'm wrong, I'll lose money. Now, this is not a trading show and it's not investment advice, but, if If ETH continues to outperform, that's telling you something about the market, and all the big hedge funds are after Solana. So I have no idea why we're all upset. We the Beast 58 says buy XRP. Dude, why not? It's a layer one. It's money. Why are we selling money? Why are we selling? What are you buying? Dollar? Sterling? What? Right? Your head is fuzzy like a peach. Dude, I'm charging, I have like a multi-head shaver. I'm charging it right now as we speak. You're right. I need to get a haircut. I look like a hippie, right? Strategy just announced to buy. DC Precise, welcome, right? Mark Liano, hello. Felix, the greatest. Legend, the DJ. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to thank you for watching the Morning Market Update. We do this every single day except Sunday on the regular. We will see you tomorrow.